Honorary Mayor of Middleborough ceremoniously represents the town of Middleborough. The contest is a fundraiser and was first held in 2015. There were 5 candidates, and Barbara Chadwick became Middleborough's first honorary mayor. The contest was held again in 2016, that time with 3 candidates, and Pat Betancourt is the current honorary mayor. The contest will be held again in 2017, so we're asking you, can you picture yourself as the next honorary mayor of Middleborough? Please consider becoming a candidate. Nomination papers are now available and due January 31st. The Honorary Mayor of Middleborough is an election-style contest that raises funds for the Friends of Middleborough Cemeteries. The Friends of Middleborough Cemeteries is a 501c3 all-volunteer charity that was established in 2010 to provide assistance towards the restoration, maintenance, and beautification of all of the burial places within Middleborough. If you drive past a cemetery and see a headstone-shaped sign that identifies the cemetery, know that the sign is there due to the vision of this charity. And if you see gleaming white stones in places where you never saw them before, know that the mold-covered marble stones are being restored back to the way that they were always intended to be seen, thanks to the volunteers of this charity. Soon you will see stones that are currently lying on the ground standing once again, and broken stones repaired. We provide volunteers with community service opportunities, and we produce noticeable results. In this contest, we aim to simulate an actual election, but there are real differences. Candidates can be any age, and they don't have to be residents of Middleborough. Candidates have to turn in nomination papers signed by 20 people, but those people don't have to be residents of Middleborough either. Candidates must select a deputy mayor running mate, and that person must be a deceased person from Middleborough's past. Voters can be any person, organization, or corporation. The Honorary Mayor of Middleborough contest is a fundraiser, and each dollar raised is a vote. The campaign season is February and March. The winner will be announced at an inauguration ceremony held on Tuesday, April 4th in the Town Hall Ballroom. The Honorary Mayor of Middleborough holds the title for 1 year until their successor is inaugurated. That successor could be you. Everyone has a relationship with cemeteries, as we all know people now in them, and eventually we will probably be in one too. Most people visit cemeteries when they must, and then go on with their lives. We recognize that people are busy in many activities, causes, and organizations. In the spirit of the Facebook page, Middleborough Helping Middleborough, we want to raise awareness of the other Middleborough organizations and their good works. We invite those of you who are involved in other causes to fundraise for the Friends of Middleborough Cemeteries as candidates for the Honorary Mayor of Middleborough. Campaign season activities are designed to maximize exposure, such as our Candidates Forum on cable, our radio spots, our Dinner with the Candidates activities, and our inauguration event. Candidates should plan to use our forums to raise awareness of their preferred causes. As Honorary Mayor, you will be asked by the Friends of Middleborough Cemeteries and other community organizations to play the role, so we hope that you will embrace your title and have fun doing it. Jeff Stevens is a director with the Friends of Middleborough Cemeteries and host of our McCam cable shows. Jeff ran for the title himself in 2015. We asked Jeff to host this next segment to talk with previous candidates about their experiences as candidates. Joining Jeff are Pat Betancourt, our current honorary mayor, Barbara Chadwick, the 2015 honorary mayor, and Joshua Desmond, the second place finisher of the 2015 campaign. Please enjoy their conversation.
Hello everybody, and welcome. My name is Jeff Stevens, and I'm part of a group that has been in existence in Middleborough for about 6 years, and it's called the Friends of Middleborough Cemeteries, that you can see by the banner behind me. And we're getting ready for one of the biggest parts of our year, because most of our work is supported by the efforts of a project we've done for the last couple of years, and that is to go about having a bit of a competition to find and recognize and appreciate the work of an honorary mayor of Middleborough, seeing how Middleborough doesn't really have a real mayor. We have a town manager, but that's different from a mayor. And so for the last couple of years, we've run a bit of a contest, and we'll talk about how that works in a few minutes. But I thought I'd give you a little bit of history of the Friends of Middleborough Cemeteries. I told you that we started out about 6 years ago. Some folks who are very interested in our cemeteries kind of kicked this off, and there are a number of us in town who are very interested in local history, Middleborough has an incredibly rich history to it that goes way, way, way back. And some of it is very, very unique. And that's one part of that unique history has to do with our cemeteries. Actually, the term cemetery is a little inappropriate because many of us, me especially, are very interested in the colonial era. And in colonial eras, there were not cemeteries, or were called either burial grounds or graveyards. You didn't really start calling them cemeteries until about 1800. So anyway, one or two quick things. I mentioned that 6 years ago, the Friends of Middleborough Cemeteries got together. Let me tell you very quickly the three main focuses that we've developed. These are kind of written right into our bylaws. The first is to preserve, maintain, and restore the cemeteries located in Middleborough, including the graves, burial grounds, and burial plots. Then, just by way of information, we have identified about 33 so far separate cemetery burial grounds. And that most likely is not all that there are. We find more as we start hearing from people who find a gravestone or two somewhere out in the woods in many cases, which used to be in an open area. Second of our goals is to promote and improve awareness of this history and care for our Middleborough cemeteries. Again, many people may drive right by some of these places, have no idea what they're about and how interesting they are and how much they're a part of our history. And then the last of the three goals that the Friends has is to preserve and promote the memory of those persons interred here in Middleborough. Now, there's only one way we can do that, and that is to gather together donations of one form or another. We are a 501c3, which means we're a nonprofit group, so that anything that is donated to us is tax deductible. But when we started looking at possible ways to raise a few dollars to go about some of these projects that we're enjoying and seeing come out so very, very well, we heard about something that Lakeville had done, and Lakeville had actually done honorary mayor. So like many of the best ideas, we borrowed their idea because they didn't keep doing it, and so we started 2 years ago to do the honorary mayor of Middleborough. Kind of jokingly said, this is an election that can be bought because votes are dollars. Every dollar that a candidate collects is a vote. And you can vote early and often in this one. It's another wonderful joke on our election process, and there's nothing that limits how much anybody might be willing. And this has been a great way for our organization to be able to fund the activities that we're doing. So that's a little bit about who we are and the kinds of things we've done, the things that we are working on and continue to work on. The next kind of project sets that we're thinking of doing is repairing, because that's a fairly expensive and difficult job too. Many of these stones are really becoming significantly damaged, and there are ways to work on repairing them. So that's perhaps where we're going next as far as special projects. The cleaning and the taking care of cemeteries is almost a never-ending project too, but the next big one we're probably heading into will be to repair some of these historic stones. If we don't do some of these things, I suspect that in another 100 years, many of these stones will be gone or so badly damaged they won't be readable. So that's what we're up to, and that's what we're doing. Now, I have some special visitors I want to bring in and introduce to you and give you a little background about. And why don't we do these one at a time? And the first is a person, I ran for honorary mayor, was not elected, but I ran. And in the same this is the very first time we did this, but I was very pleased to see that it was not just old folks doing these kinds of things, but we had a young man who joined us. So Joshua, why don't you come on up? This is Joshua Desmond. My name's Joshua. Nice to have you here. Welcome. Sit right down. And Joshua came and joined us on our very first, there were a couple of kids on our first group. We had, I think, 5 candidates, and we had 2 kids among those guys. And you worked especially with what group?
The Troop 64 with Middleborough, Massachusetts, the Boy Scouts.
Great. And that's something we want everybody to know, and that is that candidates can come from a group, and we have a number of activities during the honorary mayor process that goes over the next 2 months. So when we get through this month, February and March are really the times for the candidates to gather funds together. And during those times, we'll have a number of activities and speaking opportunities, and a number of times when we actually film and put things on the local cable channels too. And there's nothing wrong with talking about your group when you talk about how much you'd love to be the honorary mayor, so that if you're from a group, it's all right to talk about your group when you're here with us. So in that first time around, we were overjoyed that we were successful beyond our wildest dreams, and much of that was because we had one person who really did an incredible job and became our very first honorary mayor, and that is Barbara Chadwick. Come on, Barbara. So this is our very first honorary mayor. Barbara, how are you?
Fine,
Come and
thank
sit
you.
down. Were you connected with one of the groups? I know
No.
you're connected. Well, I tell you a group that I want to claim her to, and that is she's been very active out at Soul Homestead, another one that I happen to be very active in. So, but Barbara was an incredible candidate and became our honorary mayor because she managed to bring together various activities, and we'll talk about some of those in just a minute. All of us, we were part of that first group of candidates in the very first honorary mayor. Now, last year we did this again, and again we had five or six candidates, and I want to introduce a person who overjoyed was, again, a wonderful collector of votes, and that is my good friend Pat Betancourt. How are you, Pat? Nice to see you. How have you been?
Good, happy.
Now, I don't say this too many times, but I did have Pat as a student in 8th grade, just yesterday. Just yesterday it was.
It was just yesterday.
Just yesterday.
I'm sure it was.
And I know you're connected to the schools. Were you part of any other group as such?
Nope,
No?
nope, I did not.
So individuals can become honorary mayors, parts of groups can become honorary mayors, any of those kinds of things. Tell me, everybody, what kinds of things did you do during your candidacy? Did you do any special activities that helped things work out well?
You call people around the community. I was really avid in going door to door, knocking, getting out to the community, being able to talk to the people, and I thought that was really great.
Good, wonderful, Joshua.
Well, what I did was I established an account at Rockland Trust so that people, when they went to vote, they could just go in, they didn't have to approach me, it was easy. They could just, while they're in the bank, say, I want to donate to the campaign, and Rockland Trust then gave me a table for 2 weeks so I could set up a display, and that was very helpful and made it easy for people to donate to the campaign.
Great. Pat?
Well, what I did was I did a Friendlies fundraiser, which was a lot of fun. We really had a good time doing that. We had some raffles there. Another thing I did was, excuse me, I did like a letter campaign. Basically letting people know that I know business people or family or friends, who I am, what I was running for, and the cause that I was running for. And I think we did pretty good.
Good, good.
So it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. And one of the things that I remember is, we did a couple things. We did a telethon one time, and the telethon is called, I had my whole phone list from home and called up all kinds of folks. And you can also do the same thing nowadays. So many of us are connected, through our emails. That's another thing. You can send out a group email to everybody who's in your email list, and those kinds of things happen. So all that kind of stuff was done. Now, ladies who have served now, Pat still is right now our honorary mayor for the next month or so, because it goes through the end of March is when her term expires. But what kinds of activities are there if you are the honorary mayor? Barbara, what do you do first?
Well, we're involved in the parades,
Yeah.
the 4th of July parade and the Christmas parade. And throughout town, when there were activities, I always wore my hat and my banner to represent the cemetery, and various other events around town. I always put my hat and sash on, just to let people know who we were and what we were all about.
Good, good.
And actually, I did pretty much the same thing. Went to different activities that they had in town, wore the sash, wore the hat. We had little cards made that said honorary mayor. I passed it out. When people wanted to know what honorary mayor was, we talked about Friends of Middleborough Cemetery and how they could get involved. So it was a lot of fun. I absolutely enjoyed the parades, waving to everybody. I loved that. We had a great time. I've enjoyed it very much.
Good, good. It's not heavy lifting. You don't have to go into negotiations with the unions or any of that stuff. No,
nothing
it's
like
not
that.
quite that.
Just good old-fashioned good times.
Having a good time. Good. Well, we perhaps ought to take a moment and make sure people understand that you can both be from a group or individuals. Doesn't matter. This is also a process where you can self-nominate. And how do you get self-nominated, Pat? What did you have to do to get?
Self-nominated?
Yeah.
Signatures.
Oh, just to get
Yeah.
regular signatures?
Yeah.
Oh, you just ask people. You go to events, like I did a paint night And I asked people if they were interested, maybe donating a little extra, and they could sign up and donate $1, $5, whatever they decided that they wanted to do. You know.
Those are collecting votes.
Right.
Because I'm just, right, let's start first with just the beginning. To become a nominee, there's a form, and the form only asks you to get
I think it's 20 people,
20 signatures.
20 signatures.
So if you get 20 signatures, and there's another little piece of that, and that is that we do try and very much connect this to Middleborough's history. So we ask everybody to try and find themselves what we call a deputy mayor. Now, a deputy mayor is somebody from Middleborough history. In many cases, they might even be buried here, but not necessarily. And Pat, I know you brought your deputy mayor.
I did. I brought my deputy mayor, who is Henry B. Birkeland. I'm sure a lot of people know who Henry B. Birkeland is or represented, but he was the principal of the now Henry B. Birkeland Elementary School. A lot of children go to that school and have gone through that school, myself included. So they were fabulous people, him and his wife. So I thought, since I work in the school system, why not just choose somebody within the school? So I chose Henry B. Birkeland, who is also buried in Middleborough, in South Middleborough.
Yep.
I selected my grandfather, Harry Goodale, because he was the first town manager of Middleborough. So the family has some history in Middleborough, and that's why I chose him.
Great. Joshua?
I chose Ebenezer Pickens, and he was a judge from Middleborough, and he was also very avid in politics around the local Middleborough, and he's my ancestor, so I'd go with him.
And I had to find somebody or other, and obviously I'm interested in the cemetery stones, and I had already done this stone early on. This is at the cemetery at the Green, and it's done, I stopped and did this stone because the top here, which is the part that I'm especially interested in, is done by a man who we don't know his name, but he was called the first Middleborough carver, because back in, about 1710 or so, sometime in that range, he started cutting the first gravestones. He was really a terrible craftsman. He was not exactly capable of doing an awful lot of fancy work. This is supposed to be what we in the gravestone study call the death's head, and there are supposed to be 2 eyes and a nose here. He couldn't begin to do anything that looked much like a skull, so these are just kind of circles on here. And then he had terrible time making even certain letters. But anyway, so I saw this stone, and this is called a rubbing, where you take a piece of paper and carefully put it over the stone. This was a good solid stone, so I didn't do any damage to it. And then you rub it with a crayon and then go back and clean it up afterwards. Now, this is for a man that I didn't know who he was. His name is John Morton. And then I happened to get more and more into my genealogy, and guess who pops up? John Morton. Then I did a little more research, and I was, as Pat says, and I told you I was her school teacher back just yesterday. I was a school teacher here. Find out John Morton is credited with being not just the first public school teacher in Plymouth, because he started a school in the 1780s in Plymouth, not 1780s, 1680s in Plymouth. And he ran it for about 7 years. But that is not just the first one in Plymouth, or Massachusetts, or New England, or even the United States, the whole New World. He is considered the very first school teacher, public school teacher in the New World. And when I say that you kind of find people in Middleborough that you have no idea their history until you start delving into a little bit of the stories behind them. So my ancestor, I'm proud to say, first school teacher in the whole New World. So that's a little bit about being the mayor of Middleborough and the process. Now, once you get your nomination papers turned in, and we're hoping to have people take out nomination papers and do this by the end of January. Because from March and April are the months when we have special activities. There's going to be a little telethon kind of event and a few other things. We also get people together and give them some of the ideas about how they might most effectively gather votes. Now remember, a vote is $1, and we both accept cash, but also checks made out to the Friends of Middleborough Cemeteries. And if you write down below it who it's for, that person gets credit for that. And as I say, you can vote multiple times. It's not only a single vote for a person.
Where do you get a nomination sheet?
The nomination sheets, we're going to talk about that. Very good question, coming right up. One quick thing, and that is, it is tax deductible. Okay, so again, we're a 501c3, so any votes are tax deductible. We have a very, very nice site, too. And so if you Google, very long, Friends of Middleborough, O-U-G-H at the end, cemeteries.org, up will come our page. So Friends of Middleborough, cemeteries.org, up will come that, and there's a special little mark right there that says Mayor of Middleborough, and click there and it'll both run you through things, give you the nomination papers, if you can print them right out, and then how to turn them in and how to do the various parts to get going. As I say, we're going to have in very early February, we're going to have a little kind of gathering of the nominees who have decided to run and give them a little of the background on some of the things that people have done in the past to be successful and go from there. But I tell you, we would not be able to do the things that we as the Friends of Middleborough Cemeteries have done without this process. It has been an incredible benefit to the organization, and I want to thank you all for participating.
Glad to
And
be
thank
part
you
of
for
it.
coming today.
Thank you.
To be part of this today. So if you're at all interested in being a candidate, you can both go online, or if you know anybody from the Friends of Middleborough Cemeteries, feel free to check with any of us who you see around, or if you see me anytime, stop and we'll be glad to help you. And so please become a candidate if you'd like to. And it's just a couple of months of activities and gathering funds together. We have a place where you can turn in those funds, so you don't have to, you can't open an account as Barbara did, but you can do it, turn this in on a regular basis so you don't have to collect this at home, and we'll then wrap it all up at the end of March, and very appropriately, April 1st, April Fool's Day, is when we know who the new mayor is. So thank you very much for being with us, and again, thank you guys for being with us
Thank
very
you.
much today. Thank you, Josh.
The Friends of Middleborough Cemeteries would like to thank Pat, Barbara, and Joshua for their participation in this video. We can't thank them enough for the work that they did as candidates. We are eternally grateful. We appreciate their continued involvement with this charity. The Honorary Mayor of Middleborough ceremoniously represents the people of Middleborough of today while providing for the restoration, maintenance, and beautification of the places where the people of Middleborough of yesterday rest for eternity. The funds raised provide for the Friends of Middleborough Cemeteries community service opportunities. As a candidate, you will be given a forum to raise awareness of your preferred cause. If you are interested in running for honorary mayor, here are the steps to do so. First, obtain a copy of the nomination papers. Printed copies are available at the office of the town clerk at the Town Hall Annex building on Center Street. Downloadable copies are available from our website, www.friendsofmiddleboroughcemeteries.org. Second, choose your deputy mayor running mate. This person must be someone from Middleborough's past and doesn't have to be interred within Middleborough. Learn about your running mate, as you will be asked about this person throughout your campaign and at all events. Third, choose your preferred cause. As with your deputy mayor running mate, you will be asked about your preferred cause throughout your campaign and at all events. Fourth, submit your nomination papers. They must be turned in before January 31st. The papers inform you how to turn them in. In early February, there will be an orientation with all candidates. We will review upcoming events, fundraising strategies, and rules and requirements, and answer any questions. Then you can run your campaign through March. The winner won't be announced until the night of the inauguration. Save the date. The inauguration is Tuesday, April 4th. If you have any questions or concerns, please message us through our Facebook page, www.facebook.com/THEFOMC, or send an email to president@friendsofmiddleboroughcemeteries.org. Please consider running for the 2017 Honorary Mayor of Middleborough.